All right, good morning, everyone. We want to convene and welcome each one of the members and those that are in the audience to the Joint Valley Metro RPTA and Valley Metro Rail meeting with the Board of Directors. So while Jessica will not be here, Mr. Jim will be filling in for us, so welcome. And if any committee member would like to ask a question or make a comment during the meeting, please type your comment in the box and it will be read out loud. If you're online, you know what to do, wave your hand and we got you, okay? The public will be provided, with an opportunity at this time to address the committees on non-agenda items and all action all action agenda items for the joint RPTA meeting and agendas. Up to 3 minutes will be provided per speaker unless the chair allows more at their discretion. So you have a total of 15 minutes for all speakers will be provided. So will there be any public commentary at this time?
Yes, Chair, but I need to call a roll first. And then
Okay,
we can
got it.
Get right back to public comment.
No problem.
So good morning, everyone. City of Avondale Councilmember Max White.
Here.
City of Buckeye Vice Mayor Clay Goodman.
Present.
He is on WebEx today, yes. City of Chandler Vice Mayor O.D. Harris.
Here.
City of El Mirage Councilmember Monica Dorsey. She just walked in, thank you. Town of Fountain Hills Councilmember Peggy McMahon.
Here. Here.
On WebEx.
She is on WebEx.
She is.
Town of Gilbert Mayor Bridget Peterson.
Here.
City of Glendale Councilmember Lauren Talmachoff.
Here.
City of Goodyear Councilmember Bill Stipp. Maricopa County Chairman of the Board of Supervisors Jack Sellers. City of Mesa Vice Mayor Francisco Heredia. City of Peoria Vice Mayor John Edwards. City of Phoenix Councilmember Laura Pastor. Town of Queen Creek Councilmember Jeff Brown. City of Scottsdale Vice Mayor Kathy Littlefield. She is on WebEx. City of Surprise Councilmember Allie Klein. City of Tempe Vice Mayor Jennifer Adams. City of Tolleson Vice Mayor Lupe Bandon. Town of Wickenburg Mayor Rui Pereira. And Town of Youngtown Mayor Michael LaVault.
Yes, Pat.
He is online. Chair, we can proceed with public comment. I do have 2 public comment forms today. Candace Carnegie. Ma'am, if you could please come up here to the podium over here. Oh, right here on this side.
Your time or your 3-minute countdown. This will tell you when there's 1 minute left, and then this is your indicator that your time is up.
All right, and Candace, just to let you know, you have 3 minutes. And once you start speaking, your 3 minutes will begin, okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I've had enough with the light rail system. I understand there's a problem with the signals. It's been going on for over 2 weeks now. I'm sure you're all aware. Anytime I call the call center, it ends in 5,000. No one's really able to give any updated information. It's affected me at least 3 times where it's taken me an hour and a half to get to my final destination over those past 2 weeks. On March 19th, the evening, where I was waiting or actually trying to catch the last train leaving Veterans and College going in the westbound direction, I missed it because that light rail came 4 minutes early. It's always been late. This is the first time it comes early, causing me to not be able to get to my final destination. When I got to Preston, Washington, because that's as far as the light rail goes, I talked to a supervisor who informed me he's not employed by Valley Metro, but by ACI. I had no idea what that meant. I've never heard those 3 letters before that day. But I understand that is the contracted company that manages the light rail system. The problem I had is he didn't give me a name. He just said he's T66, and I don't know what that means, but that seems to be his name. The light rail was supposed to arrive at Veterans and College at 11:39. It came at 11:35. 4 minutes may not seem like a lot, but it's a lot when someone like me depends on public transportation. It's unfortunate it happened. That was the first time I used Waymo. That was an interesting ride and a very expensive one. $13 to go just 2 stops because I needed to get off on 44th and Washington. So I'm letting everyone in this room know that this little hiccup with the signals is causing a major impact in your riders' lives. The complaint number or report number that I filed the following day is 531353, if anyone is interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Candace. Can we make sure that we take this information and get back and look into the concerns, please?
Yes, sir, we will do that.
All right. Is there any more public commentary? A second one?
Mr. Crowley is here today.
Okay, Mr. Blue. Just remember, you have 3 minutes, and when you start speaking, your 3 minutes will begin.
In the minutes of the audit and committees, it has in there that Chairman Goodman said, "Thank you, Mr. Crowley. Pat, do we have any more speakers?" That was not what was said. He asked, was the officer there? Why are you putting stuff in the minutes that isn't there? And that interchange was more fun than it was supposed to be, since I had stated that I was going to be covering agenda items plus the situation of one of the roadways that I had been on and why it isn't being addressed and dealt with. And that would have been Grand Avenue. And the 5 communities are Surprise, Maricopa County, Glendale, Phoenix, El Mirage. That when I was on there, I'm going, where is the Grand Avenue bus? And I remember Phoenix with back in the day when they were building the bridge over I-17 and the Grand Avenue overpass at Thomas. I said, where is the equation going to be so that there can be connectivity between the 2 routes? And Phoenix said, don't worry, we've got that covered. What they did is they took out the route. I note that you also are doing the thing on security on the rail at your last meeting, you did a presentation to award Allied Burton for their excellent activities, but they did it at the both meeting, right? Allied Burton is just rail because there is no problem with absconding on the bus because you've got to get your ticket or show it when you get on, period. And as for trespassing, our bus stops are all in public domain. You can't be trespassing in the public domain. So it's just all of those equations. But then the one that I'm wanting most to communicate with you is that we had 645 deaths from heat exposure and it being over 92 degrees consistently. Those people need to get out of the sun. They need to get water, both of which are applicable at the bus stops. And I'm saying, or at the rail stops, I'm saying that when that temperature is 92 and above, overnight, et cetera, that anybody can go onto that transit stop, get a drink of water, and maybe even if they've got the money for the rail, ride it to get out of the heat for some time. Thank you, and that's 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Blue. Can we possibly look into, I know that the state will be coordinating efforts and a lot of cities are coordinating efforts about water and dehydration and heat relief. Can we make sure that, that we're involved in those conversations and identify areas that we feel that this will be meaningful impact for our constituents who rise our transportation, please?
Yes, we can do that. Hillary and her team have a program that they implement during the spring and the summer. And if you'd like, we can have an update on that program at the next board meeting.
Yes, yes. And can they provide locations as well?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. All right, in lieu of Jessica, we have Mr. Jim here, Chief Administrative Officer. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Mr. Jim, for you to provide us with the Chief Executive Officer report.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members. On Jessica's behalf, we have several updates to provide to you today. I'm going the wrong way. There we go. The first, we're thrilled to announce our Spring Fiesta on Central will occur Saturday, April 20th from 10 to 1 a.m. This community event at Central and Baseline features entertainment and prizes and is intended to promote local businesses along the South Central corridor. In November, we had more than 30 businesses and over 300 folks attend our fall Fiesta on Central. It also provides a great opportunity to highlight to the community the progress that we're making in that development. We want to also note special thanks to Chair Pastor for her continued support of the event and for serving as a speaker at the Spring Festival. Next, outreach and communications are ramping up for our fare collection system modernization program. In the next several months, riders will begin transitioning to the new copper card. You can see it teeny tiny in the slide before you. That's an account-based smart card that will complement the mobile fare that we've already implemented. To assist with this transition, to help riders understand the benefits of the card, we're ramping up outreach efforts as we speak. That includes training of frontline staff and outreach staff, conducting community events and programs, putting in place both outreach events and in-person support for our reduced fare ID riders, and kicking off a social media campaign. This is just essentially a heads up to let you know that in April, we'll be providing you with a detailed report on that plan for your feedback. In a similar vein, we want to let you know that we're working diligently in assessing ways to increase access to ADA eligibility assessments. And we'll present our findings for your feedback to you in June. We want you to know that we're taking sort of an all of the above approach initially, looking at every possible option that will increase access, still provide an excellent customer experience, and do so in the most cost-effective fashion. That includes, as you see in the slide, assessing the potential for establishing either full or part-time satellite eligibility centers, and a potential for a mobile unit using a retired bus to visit various locations in the valley. Each of these options has strengths and weaknesses, and as a result, we want to ensure that providing you with the most thoughtful analysis for your feedback and guidance on implementation. Next, as you may be aware, January 1st, Valley Metro's Vanpool program transitioned from an agency-owned to a vendor-provided fleet model under the contract with Commute with Enterprise. As you can see on the screen, we've had a number of comments from participants in the program. As of February 27th, 76 of our 218, so about a third of the fleet has transitioned to these new, in many cases, more right-sized vehicles. And as you can see, we've had a lot of positive feedback with regard to the greater fuel efficiency, some of the newer safety features of these newer vehicles. Customers have also found the transition between vehicles to be very smooth. That's critical to us since the Vanpool program plays a very important role in our overall demand management system, serving more than 45 employers and reducing 1.7 million single vehicle miles and 200,000 pounds of pollution every single month. Next, we want to highlight partnership with Mesa PD. On February 21st, between 9 and 3, officers from Mesa PD's Community Action Bike Unit and Central Patrol Unit participated in Operation Blue Ride in conjunction with the city's Homeless Outreach Project Resources Day. Outreach, education enforcement was conducted across the light rail line and specifically bus routes 112 and 114, in addition to other locations within the city of Mesa. It was a great partnership. We had many positive interactions with customers and operators. There were no major incidents, and we just wanted to highlight the super teamwork with City of Mesa PD. Next, a couple updates on the South Central extension. South Central Downtown Hub is now more than 3/4 complete. So we're in the home stretch here, as you can see in the picture before you, illustrating Washington and 3rd Avenue. We are wrapping up the last bit of special track work downtown in advance of the final 4 in April. Our next major step downtown will be system testing, which will start this summer. That testing validates the connection between the new track work and the existing system, and is critical, a next critical step in moving to revenue service. Further south, along Central Avenue, underground utility work is now largely complete across the project. As a result, the construction team is anticipating installing over 1,200 feet of track work a week in the coming months. So progress is really ramping up now that the below ground work is done. We've also broken ground on all of the project's new stations. In support of this work and in support of the community, our dedicated group of community relations staff continue to work to support the neighborhood's businesses and tenants along the alignment. As one example of that, in the last year, over $1 million in grants were awarded in conjunction partnership with the City of Phoenix to support folks impacted along the alignment. So we're very excited for the opening celebration in 2025. And then lastly, your next board of directors meetings is April 28th. And Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jim, for the report. Does any other board members have any questions? All right. Well, next we're going to move on to our Audit and Finance Subcommittee update. It doesn't appear that Vice Mayor Goodman is here to provide this update.
He's online.
He's online?
Online.
Oh, okay. Hi. Go ahead, Mr. Vice Mayor, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. The Audit and Finance Subcommittee met on Thursday, March 7th.
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Hello?
We can't hear you. In the meantime, can we turn on some elevator music? Oh, no. They don't want that. They're gonna run out of here if I start singing.
Max is gonna do my art packages.
I don't want to bust out my Kumbaya chant. It's a real one, okay?
Hello? No, nothing.
We really just wanted to see Mr. Cook.
Hello?
That's all we wanted to do.
You're
We
right.
just wanted to see you. That's it. We're good to go.
Nothing yet? No?
Vice Mayor Goodman, could you please try again?
Hello? Can you hear me?
I don't know. Hold on.
I can
Sorry,
hear
we're
him
having a
online.
technical difficulty. One moment.
Yeah, I can hear.
Where he is.
That's probably why. That was intentional.
Bottom of the Grand Canyon. No cell service.
I need some.
Hello?
We're gonna send him over to the broadband committee. Can we get one of those van pools to go pick him up? You can hear me. Oh, these are jokes all day. If we continue to have difficulties, we can move on with the
Nothing.
agenda.
No?
Unless you need more time, Pat. You wanna call him? Okay.
Can we hear anybody online?
Hello?
During the roll call? But I didn't hear anything.
Oh, they can hear him on YouTube, but we just can't hear him on here.
Hi,
Councilmember, I'm gonna put you on
They were
speakerphone on my
just-
cell phone, and then you'll give your report.
I'm just gonna ask everyone to go to YouTube, everyone, and turn it on at the same time so we can hear it.
Okay, Councilmember, you can go ahead.
Hello, this
Go ahead.
Councilwoman
Councilman
Littlefield.
Goodman. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
hello. All right,
Councilmember, you need to mute your laptop.
yeah, I did. Not that you could hear me at all. The audit and finance. Oh, this should be better. The audit and finance subcommittee met on Thursday, March 7th. Mr. Kessler provided an update for PTF revenues. We heard at an internal audit update, Sabrina provided an update on audits that are currently underway, which included conflict of interest, contract change orders, and authority, as well as IT authentication. Planning continues for an internal audit plan for fiscal year 25. And lastly, Mr. Kessler provided an overview of FY 2025 operating and capital budgets for our PTA and Valley Metro Rail. This information is now making its way through the committee process, will be presented to the board and they're on their respective agendas today. And aside from the technical difficulties, this concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Appreciate your time in that report and your service to the committee. All right, well, moving on to item number 4 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is presented for action. We ask that the committee, if there are any questions or if there are any items that needs to be pulled for a separate discussion. Seeing none,
Chair, I move we accept the consent agenda.
all right.
Second.
There's been a
Second.
motion and a second. By Councilmember Max White, second.
And then all in, yeah. there's a-
And all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It looks like it passes. Items 4A through 4C. Moving on to number 5. Travel and expenditures. This item is presented for information only. Are there any questions? No actions required for it. All right, seeing none. Item number 6. If there report on current events and suggested future items, agenda items, is there any? For all future items, any?
I have a future item.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
It's a list.
Vice Mayor Adams. She has, oh my God.
Okay.
Can you sum it up in 30 seconds? No, I'm just playing.
No.
I'm just messing with you.
Seconds. So, but a nice try would be. Okay, so we were wondering about the background for the initial application. Why did we apply for low or no grant? No one can recall asking or the reasoning. It's our first question. Second question, was our grant award of $13 million or $23 million? The chart given shows an additional.
Vice Mayor, let me, she's talking, do you guys know what she's talking about? Okay, all right.
Okay.
Does everyone know that Vice Mayor Adams is talking about the recent purchases for
Electric
for
buses.
the electric buses, so she has some concerns about that. And so
So, sorry, I apologize. I should have brought that up first.
it's all good. like-
Yes. Thank you. Where have you been my whole life? We had a question about the federal funds with the electric buses. Financial modeling for electric bus program, our ability to sustain program over time and cost analysis for replacement, all compared to current fleet. Current slides are unclear for a side-by-side comparison. If CNG, next question, if CNG has a higher GHG emission impact the diesel? Why is our fleet mostly CNG? Is it the fuel or the maintenance costs? Next question. What are the side-by-side comparisons of cost per mile, including capital costs between low and no and CNG and diesel buses? Next question. Are there long-range maintenance costs to be considered? What are they? Next question. How do the operational costs compare to fare recovery for the proposed routes that will run low or no fleet? Next question. What are the experiences of others currently operating an electric fleet? Are benchmarks available? Next question. Cooling requirements for our extreme weather for both the facilities and the buses? And are these costs included in the cost per mile? Next question. In 2023, it was reported that nationally, electric bus manufacturers were experiencing parts backlogs and users had idle buses due to breakdowns and reliability issues. Has the picture changed since in 2024? Last question, I promise. Is the board notified of all grant applications, especially those requiring matching funds? Should we be? Question mark. That concludes my future agenda items on the electric bus situation.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And we're going to provide staff with a copy of these questions so we can kind of go through it. The bigger concern, how we're going to be looking at electric buses. There's still more questions about it. There's still more conversations nationally going on about how well and how functional it'll be. And looking at Arizona being a place of extreme heat, that's a big concern. So let's look at these questions. Let's get back with us as soon as you guys can to discuss. And what was that?
Maybe a presentation on electric buses, including the grant process.
So we're requesting a presentation,
Answering these questions.
answering these questions, including the questions and overall, Councilmember.
Vice Mayor, Chair, I'm just thinking, any presentation we receive, like I, feel like sometimes a Lego builder, so I want to, hear how a bus is made, right? But I really need to know how it's going to operate on the road. For example, just participating in a lot of our activities during the National League of Cities, it's become plain to us that us having electric here is just going to be so much more expensive. Every diesel we take off the road might be too electric. So I don't necessarily need the Lego build of the bus. I need to know the operations impact of this to our system. And then also, I also wanted to refer to, I think some of our community members, just high level, speak about bifurcation, but I realize now, having learned a lot more sitting on Transportation Infrastructure Services Committee with the National League of Cities, that a lot of our federal funds don't come all the way down and can't trickle down to cities unless we operate in the way that we do right now, keeping our organization stable and strong together. It really helps empower the cities to make the funds come together, but we have to match them, which is why we want to make sure we understand where they're going when grants are being applied for. Thank you very much.
Okay, there, I got it. Yes, I agree. Apparently the last presentation was really in the weeds, way into the weeds. We don't need that. We need basically O&M questions answered and how practical are electric buses in our extreme heat. And so that was part of this whole conversation that we had.
And I would just say, perhaps if the board is open to this, maybe we can pull together a separate, like a study session about this particular item, so we can have further discussion and give staff some direction from the study session if this is what we want to continue to look at. I know that these decisions that we need to make is coming quickly. There's a lot of pending implications with these decisions. So if the board is interested, maybe we can have staff put together a study session and they can get back with us at a later date to address a lot of these immediate concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think that the board just had a lot of concern. I mean, and we appreciate the level of detail. But our concern is the feasibility of meeting our riders' needs and the financial feasibility of electric buses. And as Max said, I mean, we hear stories city after city that explores the possibility of going electric and finding that they need twice as many vehicles at twice the price. And so those are the kind of discussions I think we want to have. So that was why a few of us sat down and refined. And I know for those that aren't aware, Jessica does have this list, and I'm sure obviously she's shared it with Jim. That this is the kind of information that the board wants to know if we're going to continue down this road. Those are the questions that we have as far as moving in the direction of electric buses, because that's our charge, is delivering service on time and being able to manage the cost if this is what's going to happen. So thank you.
Are there any other comments? Any more comments? Okay. You have your direction. And get back with us as soon as you can. And let's look forward to that study session in the future. All right.
Understood, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Was there anyone online? I want to make sure that I allowed any online commentary about electric buses, about this future item. I want to provide that. Okay. All right. Seeing none online. All right. Well, item number 7. Thank you for this conversation. Item number 7, the next meeting of the joint board is scheduled for Thursday, April the 18th, 2024 at 11:15 a.m. I will call this meeting adjourned. The next meeting that we have now is welcoming each one of you to the March meeting. And item number 1, do we need to do another roll call, Pat? Okay. Item number 1 on the consent agenda is presented for action. I am requesting a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda for items 1A through 1B. 1A and 1B. Okay, Vice Mayor Edwards, then second by Vice Mayor Adams. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All right, it passes. Line. All right, going to number 2, Valley Metro RPTA fiscal year 2025 preliminary operating and capital budget. I'm going to turn that back over to Mr. Jim to take us further and introduce this item to us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We'd like to have Ken Kustler, our CIO, share with you his information.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Today I'm going to be providing a high-level overview of the FY25 preliminary operating and capital budget. This information has been presented to your staff at Financial Working Group and RTAG, as well as the Audit and Finance Subcommittee and the Transit Management Committee as well. So we're now getting to the full board with this information, and we'll be coming back next month with a more detailed look at the budget, as today's presentation is really more of a high-level view of the operating budget. So here's estimates for the RPTA bus side, comparing FY24 to 25 year-over-year changes for boardings, estimated miles to be delivered, gross operating cost, and fare revenues. And now looking at paratransit operations, looking at forecasted trips compared FY24 current year to the proposed FY25 budget, trips, gross operating cost, fare revenues, and the cost per trip there. And now moving on to the ride choice operations, again, same metrics as paratransit, looking at estimated trips for FY24 versus 25, looking at significant growth as demand for that program continues to increase year over year. And now looking at the uses of funds in the total operating and capital budget, you could see that passenger services is by far the largest use of our funds in our total operating and capital budget, followed by the VMR capital program. Just as a reminder, the public transportation funds that are part of the funding sources for the VMR capital program are administered by RPTA, and so they are passed through from RPTA to VMR for those activities. And we have substantial work going on right now and into next year on the VMR capital program. And now looking at the operating and capital sources of funds, public transportation funds, the biggest part there, followed by member city contributions for those projects. Now a programmatic look at their operating uses of funds. Fixed route operations, year over year, 6% increase, driven primarily by a full year of the East Valley bus contract, that new contract that went into effect January 1. So just a half a year impact of that in the current year. Next year, obviously, that'll be a full year effect of that contract, and as well as other contracts that have built-in year over year annual rate increases. The demand services going up a little bit from current year, mostly based on increased ride choice demand and estimated trips for that program. And then in the van pool program, very large looking increase there, but this is primarily due to what was touched on earlier with the van pool program. We are moving from a agency provided vehicle to the vendor provided vehicle program. And so in the current year, it's just a half a year that model. So that new contract started January 1 of this year. So in next fiscal year, we'll see a full year impact. And what that means is the cost of the vehicles is now really built into the contract that's paid through the operating budget with the vendor, whereas previously the cost for the vehicles was in the RPTA capital budget. So the cost in the capital budget is no longer there. And this really represents shifting the cost of the vehicles provided by the vendor into the operating budget to that contract. And the operating budget sources of funds, again, primarily public transportation funds, followed by member city contributions and federal funds as well. Now looking at the capital program for RPTA, regional fleet being the largest capital program for the FY25 budget, as well as currently there's a decrease year over year. Again, the fleet budget really, that's based on the timing of when vehicles are received and paid for. And so, even in the current year, there's probably not going to realize that full $64 million just due to the timing of ordering fleet and the manufacturing timeline and receiving those vehicles. And then on the sources side for the RPTA capital program, public transportation funds, the carry forwards and reserves, that's really the fund balances in the public transportation fund. So those are funds where the revenue flowed in prior years but was not used. So those two together, really the use of public transportation funds, both funds that were earned in previous years and funds earned in the new year in the FY25 budget year. And then also federal funds make up a significant portion of the RPTA capital program as well. And just wanted to touch on the pass-through funds as a reminder. RPTA passes through funds for a variety of reasons. Public transportation funds pass through to VMR for the capital program. We do pass through some regional area road funds, and then as well, the Arizona lottery funds are administered by the Regional Public Transportation Authority on behalf of the county. So those funds are dispersed out to the member cities as well as the county. And then here's a look at the source of funds for those pass-throughs. Again, the lottery funds, as I had mentioned, regional area road fund, and then the sources on the VMR side are reimbursements from VMR. As a reminder, all employees of the agency are technically employees of RPTA, and so those individuals who are performing work for VMR, those costs are incurred on the VMR side, and VMR reimburses, they're incurred on the RPTA side, and VMR reimburses RPTA.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
On the lottery funds, why is it always 11.2? Like, doesn't the lottery go up and down?
That's a formula that basically each year, it's not the exact same number every year, but it's about 11.2 million each year.
So it's not going up?
Correct. Based on the current legislation that governs that.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're getting our fair share.
Right,
Okay, thank you.
certainly. Okay, and lastly, just wanted to take a look at a recap of the key dates for the budget process. So we're here in March, going through the high level look at the budget with the various bodies. We did start on Tuesday with a deep dive with RTAG and Financial Working Group to look into the details. And as you know, the RTAG process really is the month prior to the board cycle process. So that's our first look at those details that will then be coming through the cycle for the month of April to the Audit and Finance Subcommittee, the management committees, as well as the boards. And so that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Oh, go ahead, sorry. Come on.
Yeah, thank you. I do have a question, Ken. On slide 4, the baseline RPTA ride choice, it shows the trips increasing, but the cost per trip decreasing. So can you, that's great, but can you explain how that works?
Myself, I don't have the details on that. I mean, it's I think really a matter of the volume as it goes up. There's efficiencies to be gained. And I think Tom probably can answer more specifically to that.
Yes.
That's not on.
Thank you for the question. One of the reasons that you see the unit costs go down is the way we structured the contract to where we have tiered ridership. As the ridership hits a certain peak, the administrative costs go down. So with the growth in the ride choice program right now, the administrative fee is consistently going down as the trips go up. The second piece of it is the blend between Uber and Lyft, who are our most cost-effective providers right now, with the majority of the trips being the individuals choosing one of those service providers. So the two together, the service providers and the structure of the contract, is helping keep the unit cost down.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this cost savings is passed on to cities, right? So the cities, this is a Valley Metro program that multiple cities are now using, and it's specifically for paratransit riders. These numbers are for paratransit riders only.
First question, yes, it's passed on to the cities who's prescribed to the Ride Choice program. Each community has different eligibility criteria. So some communities have chose to not only do paratransit eligible, but also 65 and older. A couple communities does veterans and low income also. So it's a very flexible program and each community can choose who they want eligible.
Okay, this is good information because I'm trying to get Glendale to move in this direction. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? All right, this presentation was for information only. Mr. Jim, is there anything that we need to add to this?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
All right, next item on the agenda, report of current events and suggested future items. If there's none, we'll move on to the next 4, which is our next meeting, which will convene Thursday, April the 18th, 2024 at 11:15 a.m. Thank you. That concludes the meeting.
Chair, we'll give everyone a couple of minutes to leave the RPTA and joint meeting if they so desire, because Valley Metro Rail is the next meeting. So we'll have about a 3-minute break.
All right.
That's it. That's it. I'm running a tight ship here today.
Thanks.
Pat, can you hear me? Pat? Hello?
Right, Lori, are you ready to go? We're ready.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
You can?
I still can't hear you. I know, right?
Well, we will, the agenda's short. We'll just go ahead and I'll call her on my phone,
Okay,
and get it taken care of.
all right. Well, while we're waiting we're gonna convene the meeting and we're waiting for Councilmember Pastor, the chair. So if we can quiet it down and, so we can have this meeting, that will be great. Quiet it down, that's the big
I've
word.
never heard
Can
that
you-
out of your mouth.
I'm online. Can you see
Okay, we
me?
can,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
we
can.
can hear you now.
Okay, stay on my phone?
Let's just yes, since we're live and it's working, we'll stay on the phone and, okay, I'm gonna disconnect you because we can hear you in the room.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, so we're ready to go.
So I'm gonna hang up.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yes?
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Ready? All right. So welcome members to the March meeting. We are convening this meeting. Before we begin, there are 2 changes to today's agenda. Consent agenda item 1C, LRV air compressors contract award is being pulled from consideration and will be brought back at a later date. Item 2, regular agenda item 4, report on light rail transit and streetcar security services update is also being pulled from today's agenda and will be brought back at a later date. Item number 1 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is presented for action. I'm requesting a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items 1A and 1B.
So moved.
Second,
OD's the second.
Vice Mayor
Who's-
Adams.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Adams.
Vice Mayor Adams is the first. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those that are not? I forgot discussion, but motion carries. Item number 2, systems design contract extension and additional expenditure authority. I will be asking Jim Hilliard to introduce this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll ask Mr. Trevor Cullen, our Chief of Capital Development, to present to you today.
Good afternoon, Chair and board members. The item before you is a 3-year extension to our systems design contract with PGH Wong. It would be the last 3 years of this contract term. We are also asking for an additional $5.7 million in expenditure authority to go along with that time extension. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Are there any questions?
Aye.
All right. There's no questions. Do I need a motion on this? Yes. Okay. Can I have a motion on item number 2?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Adams, and seconded by Councilmember OD. Harris, any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Are those that are not in favor of this item? The motion carries. Thank you. Item number 3, Valley Metro Rail, Inc. Fiscal Year 2025 Preliminary Operating and Capital Budget. Mr. Hilliard, could you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Ken Kessler will take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is the preliminary budget overview for Valley Metro Rail for fiscal year 25. This is just like RPTA, a similar high-level look at the budget. We'll be back with more details on the budget next month for the board. Here we have some estimates comparing current fiscal year to FY25, looking at passenger boardings, service miles to be delivered, gross operating costs, and fare revenues for light rail operations. And similarly, the same metrics for streetcar operations.
Just 1 second. Chair, there's a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, why is there such an increase in the funds from 24 to 25?
I'm sorry, which increase are you referring to?
Well, I'm referring to all of them, except I guess the one service miles delivered, but
So
all of them have an increase, and I'm just wondering why that is the situation.
right. So, Madam Chair, Vice Mayor Adams, the primary driver of the increases from FY24 to 25 is a full year impact of the Northwest Extension Phase 2 operations. So that service did commence this year, late in January. And so next year, it'll be a full 12 months of that service operations.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
Certainly.
Easy for me to say.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
moving on to streetcar operations. Again, looking at the passenger boarding, service miles, gross operating costs, and fare revenues, FY24 budget compared to the preliminary budget for FY25. And a lot of the increase there on the boardings, obviously, we're seeing much higher boardings than had been estimated for this year. So we increased that estimate for FY25. And just do want to hear these numbers for streetcar in terms of the operating cost. For this initial high-level look, we did go back and look, and so for the next round, you'll see a decrease in the cost for streetcar operations. That detail was shared with Financial Working Group and RTAG on Tuesday, but this presentation is basically the same presentation they saw last month. So this is sort of the first look at it. With the next go round with the budget, you'll see on streetcar that cost will go down, and your overall year-over-year increase is quite a bit smaller than it is right now looking in this presentation. So now looking at the project development, the use of funds here, I-10 West Extension, with efforts, really ramping up for that project, as well as the other projects that are underway, Rio East Dobson Streetcar, Northwest Phoenix, and our capital project development administration and overall system-wide plan and project development budget for FY25. So looking at the overall operating capital uses of funds for VMR capital activity, is by and large the largest part with all the projects we have going on. Capital work is pretty intense right now. And second is passenger services. As we're a growing system, the capital side of our program is pretty significant. And then those the sources of funds that fund our total operating and capital budgets, member city contributions and federal funds, being the largest two funding sources, followed by the public transportation fund that funds some of the capital activities. And just looking at a little more detailed look at the cost on the different programs. So light rail is up here about 11%. Again, we've relooked at some of those numbers, and that's been brought down in the next version of the budget that you'll see next month. Again, streetcar here shows about a 9% increase with the numbers that are in this presentation. But the work we've done has brought that down to just a 3% year-over-year increase. And you'll see that in next month's more detailed presentation. So now looking at the source of funds for the operating budget, member city contributions, by far the largest portion of the operating budget, followed by fares supporting operations. And moving on to the capital program, the uses of funds here, the South Central project is the largest activity we have going on for FY25. followed by the capital extension as that program ramps up and moves forward. And then so for our sources and the capital program, federal funds being a large and important source that supports our capital program, followed by the regional public transportation funds and member city contributions. And again, a recap of the timeline, same timeline as presented for the RPTA budget. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any additional questions.
Any questions?
Can you go back one slide? Just want to get a photo of it.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
No, she wanted, she requested for the presentation to go back one slide.
Okay, I'm all good. I'm all good.
All right, she take a look and she's good. That's all the questions we have.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Item number 5 is report on current events and suggested future items, agenda items. Anything?
Chair,
None?
just,
Yes.
Chair, just a continuation of what we were talking about in the last meeting, just making sure that we get that study session going, looking at, items that relates to EV. Is important. So just kind of want to make sure that we continue to look at that a little bit more closely. There were some major concerns brought up, so I just wanted to make sure that we're continuing to have that conversation. Thank you.
All right, we'll make sure that
Chair Pastor?
happens. Yes.
Also, I noticed that the security update is crossed out. Are we going to have that next month and with Jessica?
Of course.
Okay, good. Just making sure security's on top.
It's one of our top priorities.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, you're welcome. All right. Item 6, next meeting. The next board meeting is Thursday, April 18th, 2024 at 11:15. Thank you, everybody.